All right, yesterday I painted the inner fenders. I'd been working on the PCM mount. I had to fabricate a bracket to hold the PCM on the inner fender. It turned out pretty good. It's got a little shelf welded to it to hold the fuse block and the couple relays. In the meantime, I spent yesterday in the makeshift paint booth. Little view of that. It works pretty good. I got a little hole there and I put a fan on that and it blows air into the booth and it makes it positive pressure. So the plastic in this paint booth actually puffs out a little bit. So the only place that air can get in is through the fan opening. And I have this these filters that I place up behind the fan, and it blocks, or it filters the air before it gets in. It's a pretty good filter. I don't know, it's 10 on the scale of filters that they sell. It's a Honeywell filter. And I just put it over the fan and tape it so it doesn't slide off for some reason. But anyhow, the fenders yesterday, I worked those. They've had some primer on them for a while. Scratched that up. Since it's the inside surface, I just scratched it up with a gray 3M scuff pad and got the surface of the primer. Then I wipe them down real good with prep. Oh, also one thing about the paint booth. What I had done is I just made, out of 3 1x3s, I made 3 foot by 6.5 foot wooden frames, and I stretched 6 mil clear poly over them, and I put 4 together in an accordion style. And then I used this zip flashing tape, because I've used it before working on the house and flashing and siding and stuff, and it works really well. It's heavy duty. So there's four panels together, and they accordion fold. So it's real easy when I'm not using the booth. I can fold it up and it tucks right away in the corner of the garage. And then I built a separate frame for the door, which you can see the door here. It's real simple, and it's got a door, and then it opens in so that the pressure in the room pushes it closed when it's working. And I just use a series of clamps to hold it together in the places that it joins. And then we'll go in. Let's see, I get a good shot of going in here. We'll go in. So it swings open, and I just cover it with the plastic I use to cover surfaces when I paint, using Stout's custom method of twisting the tape has been a lifesaver. Now I just twist the tape, stick it on the outside edge of the booth, and then I lay the plastic up there and stick it to it. And then when I turn the fan on, it works great. I don't have to mess around. So this is the door from the inside, and then I tape off the seam at the bottom. Tape the seam off at the bottom, except down here. In some places I don't. And then anywhere there's panels that join, I like to throw a little tape on just to keep the air from slipping through there. So that's the opening from the inside. And then the vent right here, if I open the other garage door, it just vents out. The filter kind of, it probably doesn't catch much of anything, but there's nothing out there it can hurt. It dries before it would land on anything. And I throw that up there just to keep stuff from, it helps a little bit. It's just a washable furnace filter. I know they make other products that are made specifically for that, but then I'll take some lint-free cloths and I'll lay it over it. Sometimes I cover the whole thing, depending on what product I'm using. And then those even make the pressure higher because it has more restriction, and it catches a lot of, it'll catch a lot of paint. There's, even a little blue tint to that where it caught it, and it'll catch the clear. That stuff just goes everywhere. And then I just mop the floor Sometimes I hose it if the end is open, but it's not very open. So I just mop it, and then I don't have the racks. But here's how the fenders turned out. This is just, primer and base coat, and then a couple layers of clear on top of it. And they turned out pretty good, it looks like. This is the first time I've seen them since yesterday. There was some repairs. I wasn't too concerned with this area right here. There was some rust where the fender bolt is. They're typical rust in locations like that. Here's some I didn't need to repair simply because it wasn't that bad. It wasn't through. It got pretty much taken care of with the media blasting down to bare metal. I'm not sure if this is the one or not. I had to replace the fender tip. And the other one, this is the other one. It seems to have turned out pretty good. I mean, nobody's even gonna see this, but I'll know it's there. A nice shine to it. I probably overdid it. There's some ways that apparently you can mix up. Boy, it's smooth. You can mix some clear, some hardened clear in with your base for an under hood coating. And I've never tried it. I don't know how effective it would be. I think some people just use a 1-part paint and in the same color. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing. So here I had some repairs to make. So I had to weld the holes closed, and I just ground them off. This is covered, nobody sees this, but I just wanted to prevent the corrosion. So there's another little repair. Hard to get in there with a grinder. And then I had to work this fender a bunch. Somebody had worked it once before, as evidenced by these marks, but they didn't get it right. So I had to reshape it and then re-weld the fender tip on it. I had another fender I found, and I just cut it off and welded it and put it back together. So this is just a quick video I thought I'd share on the painting of the inside of the fenders before they go on Blue Whiskey. And I thought I'd share a little bit about the paint booth. I know I live in a subdivision, and I can't just go out in the backyard or out to the back building because I don't have one and paint. Now the cab, the primer and stuff, I did that in the garage. The primer I wasn't too concerned about, but whenever I use the clear, this actually, I don't see hardly any dirt, any nibs or anything in this. There's a few, but I think that was probably something in the surface, because obviously it's not blocked, it's just scuffed after the primer went on. So the booth works great for keeping the dust and dirt out, and the clear is dust free in 20 minutes according to the technical sheet. So after about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I just turn the fan off, and then go out in the garage here, and I just walk back out here, and then I turn the fan off, and I take my fan, that's my little fan, and I put it back on its post, and then that's my garage fan. All right, everybody have a great day. One quick shot here of Blue Whiskey. Get a little engine compartment action. Got my battery tray. I mounted it to the left side. It went on this side. Had to normally on the older trucks like this, the C10s, they were on the passenger side. That's where the battery was. But I wanted my harness, since it comes out on this side, I wanted it to all come over here with the battery wiring and whatnot. New windshield wiper motor, got all that stuff all cleaned up over there. Gonna do the aftermarket air. If I'd have known, I would have blocked off that whole thing and made it one whole piece of metal with welded something in there, but it is what it is. Cold air intake. Interior, still working on it. Gotta do some steering column, gotta get some bearings. Got the wires in there. There's not a whole lot of wiring really now because the heater's not going back in. The heater and AC, I'm going with the aftermarket vintage air. Got some kill mat down over the surface. all the way back behind the seat. You got the lid painted, but that'll get a cover over it, or a headliner. And the other thing, you know, all these insulation products for the floor, I have a bunch of this pipe wrap. Now I don't know if it's going to work or not. I got a ton of this pipe wrap, probably about 20 rolls, and I've tested it with a heat gun. I've tried to light it on fire. It won't light on fire. It's about 5 millimeters thick, 1/8 of an inch, and it won't burn. I mean, it will if you put flame to it, but heat gun, hot as it'll get, will just kind of shrivel it a little bit. I was thinking about sticking that all over for insulation, thermal and sound. Maybe somebody's got an idea on that. When I look at the products they sell online that are in sheets, it seems to be the same thing. It's like an EDPM closed cell foam or something. And I look at the specs on it, the high temperature stuff, and it's even rated, not high temperature, but it's rated to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. This product says 180 degrees Fahrenheit. I think on the floor of the truck, and if I were to put another layer of some type of foil or something over that, maybe even, I don't know. I'm still looking for ideas. I don't want to spend $300 to sound insulate the cab. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And if I've got all that other junk, steering column bearings, boy, they're a pain. If I've got all this other stuff and I can use it here, that's what I want to do. See ya.